My name is Sebastian Salcedo, and I'll be going over chapters 10, 11, and 12. For chapter 10, it talked about how social construction of race and ethnicity emphasize how these categories are shaped by historical and social experiences rather than just biology. Race does involve traits assigned to social importance, which often leads to discrimination, while ethnicity refers to cultural identity, including language, customs, and nationality. It also talked about how the idea of racialization shows how groups can be categorized based on their perceived characteristics. And basically, racism can take shape in many forms, whether it's overreactions to subtle biases, implicit bias, and institutional bias, racism. But it also dives deep into the unique histories of various racial ethnic groups in the U.S., whether it's Native Americans, African Americans, Latin, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, Middle Eastern Americans, and white ethnic Americans, but also showed how each group's experience have been shaped by historical events and social structures. But overall, the chapter did challenge us to think about how race and ethnicity can be or are constructed, and how discrimination continues to impact society in today's world. As for chapter 11, it explored gender as a social construct, basically focusing on how society shapes gender expectations from birth through gender socialization. It also questions the biological determinism, the idea that traits are biologically inherent, and emphasizes how gender identity is formed and often influenced by agents like peers, media, family, and institutions. But it's also discussed as the unequal distribution of resources based on gender, which is supported by sexism and other systems. The chapter also covers the persistence of gender inequality in the workforce, noting the income gap where women earn about 80% of what men earn. And along with activities within the chapter, it challenged us as the reader to basically look at and reflect on the norms and how it shapes gender identity, along with offering framework for understanding and addressing these gender issues in today's society, as that's also another big issue going on in today's world. And for chapter 12, sexuality, it's basically shaped on not only by biology, but also the social influences like institutions, norms, and culture. While some view sexual orientation as normal, social experiences play a major role in defining sexual identities, as society teaches gendered behavior with the man and woman who is often held to a high sexual standard, as the double standard reflects on a deeper level with the inequalities, especially for women of color and those in the lower economic class. But the media and social media as well, social spaces along with that, shape sexual identities, sometimes looking at stereotypes or reinforcing them, are often challenging them as well. The sexual revolution brought challenges to sexual norms, but does debate on like issues such as birth control, gender inequality, and sexual violence, as all those continue. But through today's society, there's been progress in that, and along with inequalities around sexuality, but they still exist. But people are doing so much better about that.